thinking in that way. This is also a thought that please don't use the text, but I'm not aware of it. And there comes the Eastern wisdom. So it looks at the subjective reality. Oh, don't use the thought, use the expression. So sometime you may be a first class actor in your profession, but you lack that understanding of the subjective reality. Who said your mind that don't use the text of others? You have already expressed through the thought. So I am not aware of what I am saying. It is the same thing like the French philosopher who says, I think, therefore I am. It is the other way around. I am, then I think.
Right.
So that is why the Eastern wisdom is a must to study and understand, because it bridges the gap between subjective and the objective reality. That what I am saying, is it really true or not?
Mm.
I may have lot of thoughts in the dream, but the dream is not real. When I wake up, the dream is gone, and then I start thinking about the dream which does not exist. So there is something before the thought takes place, before the thought in the mind takes place, and before the mind there is something else which we need to understand. So that is what happens with so the Eastern wisdom makes it clear. So the entire Eastern wisdom says that these thoughts are revealed. I am not thinking through the intellect. I am not discovering anything, but I enter into the total emptiness of the mind, and in that state of emptiness, the mind and the consciousness merges together. Take an example of the wave and the water. So the water knows the wave does not know the water. Wave can only know the water when it merges with the water. And when it merges with the water, then the wave does not exist at all. Same way the thought does not exist when it merges into the mind in the state of the emptiness. Then we have a realization that there is a consciousness behind the mind. There is a consciousness which does not think. Consciousness gives the power to the mind to think. In terms of the language we have learned since our childhood.
Mm.
So for a thought, we not only need a language,
Yes.
and without language we cannot have a thought. But sometimes we can also, people say that we may have some kind of a thought in terms of the modern science talks about feeling and emotions and behavior. Long list. They have yet to arrive at a conclusion that what exactly is the thought. So, so we have to understand, yes, what you said. What is your email? How many times? Your email is what is a thought? Yes, we should understand it. Yeah, it's a very higher understanding, but still I want to make it simple, that what exactly is a thought. We have, yes, Charlie has entered. From the next week, we have our session shifted to 7:30. 7:30, yes. So, first thing, I do not think. If I say do not think, that is also a thought. That is also a thought. So, the mind can cheat me. My own mind can 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 cheat me. This is uh, what we have. Our thinking is. So let us see how we should understand. Uh, Modern science says it is a neural activity. Neural activity, very good. I said neuron. Neuron is a protein. Protein is a matter. So it means the protein is a conscious entity which knows that I have a thought. So it means go to Costco and Walmart, buy the protein bar, it will talk to you. I'm just explaining how we understand the so-called the thought, and I'm just giving some idea. No, it's an activity of the brain. Brain is a gray matter. We say it's a gray matter. Well, you say it's a gray matter, so the entire matter is a non-living thing. Okay, non-living thing knows that I am thinking. So if the non-living thing says that I am thinking, oh, very good. Then your wall will also think about you. Then your clock will think, monitor will think about you. We just accept everything. We just accept everything. We don't think about it. We don't think about it. So what our masters always say, that whenever we think or we have a thought, we are aware that there is a thought. So there must be an awareness and there must be a consciousness. Simply saying it's a brain activity, neural activity, it does not work that way. Find out if it works. Think, think. So what happens, I'm not criticizing science, but I'm critically evaluating. I'm trying to understand what our modern science says so that you can have a clear understanding. So another way, the science says that there is a area of the brain here, so which is prefrontal cortex. You see that very complex name. So we get convinced, oh, there is something complex is there. It's a name. Why you take it as a so deep? So people, science have a nomenclature of each word: itis, arthritis, conjunctivitis, etc., etc. So we say, oh, it's something very great, and I start dreaming. Prefrontal cortex. It's a part of the brain. Simple. Your right hand, if I give it something special name, then you will say, yes, now seems to be very intelligent. So what science have understood, now take it, I'm not criticizing, science has understood that this part of the brain directs attention and decision making. How? Through the neurons, through the neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are protein. So if the protein becomes conscious, then any protein can become conscious. That is how the science explains. Huh? They come to your home and they check the water, and they find that the water consists of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen, and then it is universally applied. Then they go to Antarctica, they find the water is the same, 2 hydrogen, 1 oxygen, to India, to US, to everywhere. So it's a universal. So that is why I'm using their same logic. Okay, the protein is conscious in my head, but protein is not conscious in the Walmart. There is no possibility. You are wrong. Let us go a little deeper into an understanding. What is that understanding? When we are taking a shower and suddenly remember an embarrassing moment an year ago, I'm just thinking about. So there is a neural network, the science, like a radio that plays your personal station when no other channel is selected. So I remember something from the past. There is a memory in terms of the thought, feeling, and emotion. Even the emotion that I express, it is also a thought. Well, I feel emotional. You see that emotions is also, that is why how we understand it. So this is also a thought. But I had the memory when there was an awareness. At the time of having that thought of a feeling and emotion, I was conscious or I experienced it. So when I say I experience it, my mouse does not experience. I'm holding it. Does the mouse say I also experience you while you are holding me in your right hand? It is not. So the fundamental concept is that there must be a consciousness. There must be an awareness. Second part, is the awareness a part and a property of protein molecule, which is neuron, which is neurotransmitter, which is a gray matter? The answer is big no. So the modern science is still progressing. They say that anyhow in the brain cells, consciousness is created by the complex process. That is only a hypothesis. It is not proved. I know you understand the difference between the hypothesis and the reality. It is not proved. They say it is a hypothesis. Oh, something happens in the brain. What something? What something that happens? That, oh no, we don't know. But we are sure that the thought is a neural brain activity. This is what they come to a conclusion and hypothesis. Whether it's a visual, whether it's auditory, whether it's any other information through all the five sense organs, whether it's a memory, and then I had a thought. Oh, I had a thought. He told me crazy. Then I had some emotion. But I'm aware of each movement that is taking place in the mind through the brain. I am aware of each activity or each movement of the car fueled by the engine run by the wheels. But it does not mean the wheel is responsible. It does not mean the engine or the fuel is responsible. So the masters, our science, we are still talking of science little bit. We are challenging these hypotheses. Why? To help us understand what exactly is the thought. Past experience bubbles up. I can tell you, first you started listening to me, you had few sessions, you had a different perception about this crazy guy. Now you have a different perception about the same guy. How? In the form of a thought. Thought, I'm conscious of it. I'm not unconscious. Where there is a, the moment I say I'm thought, in subconscious or conscious of it. So the brain, I hold the steering, but the steering controls the wheel. So I can change the direction. I can change the direction of the brain through the entity which is known in the mind, and the mind has a thought. We'll talk about the mind. In modern science, brain and the mind are taken together. They have a lot of confusion, they have a lot of hypotheses, but they are not very clear. Now let us come to the Eastern wisdom. Eastern wisdom. Remember, never forget this, and you will be very clear. Thought, mathematical equation, thought is equal to, like 100 is equal to, you can say 50 plus 20 plus 15 plus 15. So like the four entities are equal to. Same way, the thought mathematical equation, thought is equal to object. There must be any object. Object plus knowledge of that object plus I-ness plus consciousness. John is handsome. This is a thought. Is equal to object. Object is John. plus knowledge of an object, knowledge of a John. Who is expressing that thought? I thought, plus consciousness. Any thought. I am crazy. So I am crazy is a thought. Is equal to craziness is an object. I have a knowledge of an object plus I-ness plus consciousness. What a beautiful way to understand. It doesn't mean that I belong to Eastern wisdom, so I'm praising and appreciating. It's a very clarity is there. Clarity is there. You give me any thought, it has 4 parts. Let us go a little deeper. Object. Object may be anything. So when we when we say object, it may be a person, it may be a relationship, it may be a frustration, it may be an attribute of the mind, it may be anything, non-living object, living object, relationship, time, event, etc. That is an object, which refers to the objective reality, which tells me, here, this is the wall, here you are attending the session, you all are object to me, and I am object to you. Clear? Second is knowledge of an object. So I have to be conscious to know the object. Can you know me in deep sleep? In deep sleep, oh, that weird guy came and he was talking. Did it happen? Did it ever happen to you? No. So the knowledge of an object has to be processed, whether it is by the brain and the mind, whatever you say. It has to be, consciousness has to be, knowledge of an object, consciousness has to be there. Plus I-ness. In deep sleep, do you say, I am present, I saw you, you were talking, you had a wonderful session? Do you say no? Why no? Mind is not there. Because the mind is not there, so recognition is not there, so I-ness is not there. In dream, there is another dream I. There is another dream body. So, object, knowledge of an object. We will have to dig deep inside the knowledge of an object. And then I-ness. Again, we have to dig deep inside this I-ness. I-ness is an I thought. And plus consciousness. So remember, object. Object is like a film. Knowledge of an object, it is the projection. Because I understand the object. You are good, you are bad, you are wonderful, you are not wonderful. Oh, it lasts. I-ness is also a projection. There are 2 projections. One is the projection which says I am, other is the projection you are. Both are projection. Plus, the last is consciousness. Consciousness is like a screen. TV screen, film, projection, projection. I am watching the film, and the actor and actresses are projecting different plays different plots, and they are the objects. Are you understanding? Objects are constantly changing. After an hour, you will have a different object or a person to talk to. Knowledge of an object constantly changes. The I-ness constantly changes. Today the I says you are good. Tomorrow it says you are crazy. Third day it says enough is enough. The same I-ness. Thought formation. We are understanding the very thought formation. Then we will go to the root of it. Thought formation. Step by step. It's a very deeper, very advanced journey, but you have asked me what is a thought, so I want to simplify it to present some ideas, thoughts, and principles of the Eastern wisdom taught to us by great masters. Let us understand the very thought formation process in a different way, maybe in the form of a lake. I'm using the lake as a metaphor. External stimuli, internal impression, internal or external stimuli. It is the wind creates ripples on the lake's surface. Lake is a metaphor. Seeing an old photo, picture, or remembering a past event, seeing an old triggers something. Oh, how beautiful I was. No, I was not beautiful at that time. Second is the water. That mind is the water. The mind processing that information. The lake waves, forming patterns on the lake. How it forms the pattern? Because of the wind. Do you see that? So how do I know? By the consciousness. My mind, illuminated by the consciousness, knows that I have a thought of the past, past memory, present, future, etc., etc. Do you see that? Lake formation. Now see what changes and what does not changes. Then we will come to understand the thought. Modern science, neural pattern that arise in fate. This is what the science is. Neurons. What is neurons? It is even subtler than the thread. Maybe you can say 1,000 times subtler than the thread. We have 60 billion neurons only in this area. What to talk about the whole body. Anne's granddaughter is learning neurosciences, so you can have a couple of sessions from her. So neural pattern that arise and fade. Eastern wisdom says waves on the ocean of consciousness. Nothing happens to the consciousness. It's a wave. So both see the thoughts as temporary, like clouds in the sky. There is an agreement between the science and the Eastern wisdom. So we also agree with the science. Okay. Whether you say it's a neural pattern, we say it's okay. Now the memory, modern science, neural pathways strengthened by repetition. So we say the same neurons, those subtle thread-like structure in the brain, gets the beating on these neurons again and again. So by repetition, the brain keeps that memory. Yes, we have no objection to this. But the Eastern wisdom says it is not present in the neurons, the protein molecule, but it is present as a tendency in the mind. It is present as a past impression in the mind. In the mind, past impression, not in the brain. Brain, then it is a gray matter. So let us agree to that also. We can say that. Now come to understand what is the nature of the thought. We say it's a brain event. Modern science says it is an event in the brain, like electricity flowing through circuits. Electricity flows, so fan is moving and the lamp is running, and we are having a virtual session. We don't see the electricity, but still it is happening. So something in the brain inside is happening, and that makes me crazy about you, happy about you, etc., etc. We say means Eastern wisdom says it is a modification or in the mind. It has nothing to do with the pure consciousness. It is like the waves in an ocean. Waves. What is wave? Wave is also a water. Wave is a water, but water is not a wave. Did you understand that? Wave is water, 100%. But the water is not the wave. If water is the wave, you will definitely find the waves in your tap water. Complex? No, not complex. I'm simplifying. So that's a big difference between the two. Electricity is consumed. Fan is running, lamp. I have to pay the bills. But there, the consciousness, the water, does not undergo any change. Even if you have big waves in storm and hurricane, we recently had extreme flooding in the Florida. There, the property, the essential property of the water did not change. It will not change. Why? Because that consciousness is independent. So I told you that the science is still progressing. They have a lot of hypotheses. One hypothesis, it says that the brain is a generator of, like computer generating images. So the brain generating thought, but brain is nothing but major part of it is a protein molecule. Even one neurotransmitter is a protein molecule. And if the protein molecule is conscious, then go to the Walmart and bring the conscious protein. It will take care of you. Think. I'm not saying that why you are opposing. You have to think and reflect. So when you reflect, then you recognize that it is still a hypothesis. It is not proven. We say consciousness is the ultimate reality. It is like a screen on which all thought occurs. All thought occurs because of the mind reflected in consciousness. So all thoughts is a part of the mind, but the very mind is not the thought. Think it. Think. think. So that is why we say, that is what we say. We say, understand yourself. Now, out of the three, the object, knowledge of an object, and the very I-ness are constantly changing. What is changing is temporary. That is taking place in the mind. And then there is a reality, real self, that is consciousness. So now we have segregated. One is permanent, all-pervading, like a screen on which you can watch the horror film, you can watch the romantic film, you can watch any damn. So that watching contains the object, knowledge of an object, and I-ness. But the screen is not affected at all. So one more part has to be understood, that we all say mind has a thought. Yes, mind has a thought. So it is the mind which is I-ness, which is the mind which claims I know an object, and then there is an awareness, an object. So we say yes. So if we understand the relationship between the mind and consciousness, it can throw us a light on the thought. You are walking in a moonlight. We take it for granted using an expression, it is a moonlight. Does the moon has a light? Moon doesn't have a light. So why we say the moonlight? Because it is sun is reflected in the moon. Moonlight, reflected light, clear. Sunlight, original light, clear. Sunlight, pure consciousness, real self. Moonlight is mind. It is a reflected consciousness. We are not talking of protein. We are not talking of neurons. We are not talking of neurotransmitter. I read somewhere, I have to remember, that when one neurotransmitter jumps to another neurotransmitter, which is basically a protein molecule, the scientists say the thought occurs in your mind. How many protein molecules are jumping every day, We'll be crazy. We'll have millions of the thoughts. Your blood is moving. That is also a protein molecule. And you are eating protein. You may have a thought. I'm just doing a loud thinking. It's a little different, but I'm just making it clear. So now, did you understand the moonlight and sunlight? Moonlight, sunlight. So when I could see the east is there, so when I open the window, the sunlight falls on the screen of the monitor, and then it reflects the light somewhere else. That screen, the monitor screen, is the mind, and then it appears as if mind is a conscious entity, then it reflects there on the wall. That is how I know the wall. Consciousness, reflected mind, and then consciousness falls on Charlie. I know Charlie. I know John. That is what happens in reality. Still, we have to answer one more question. No, you have explained the process, but why the thought occurs through the language in the human beings, not in animals. We have many questions. What is natural to the animal? Sex, food, sleep, fighting for the food, and finished. So we say it is animal consciousness. We say it is programmed by the nature. That is how our understanding is. Do you see the importance of the thought? Thought helps us to gain the knowledge. Thought is a product of knowledge. I have been thinking. I've been passing on my thoughts to you, so it means the thought is a product of knowledge. Do we have schools? Does the tiger have a school? Or any animal or the ant, they don't have a school. We have a school. We are curious about knowledge. So it means consciousness is common, but there is a big difference. That as a human being, I have a ability to learn. That ability to learn makes my mind different, separate, and special than the animal mind. Animal mind will continue to be programmed, conditioned, controlled, governed by the nature. I have an intellect and a free will to find, because I live in a new level of awareness. In order to express that new level of awareness, I convert my visual, auditory, imaginary experiences in the form of a language that is known as thought. Animals will continue to have gestures. Through the thought, I have a boundary over my house. This is my boundary and this is my house. What the lion do? Do you know that? Charlie is laughing, so Charlie knows it. Every day in the evening, they walk into the forest and at a particular destination they pee because their smell defines the boundary. We define the boundary by knowledge expressed by a thought. Do you see that? See the thing. So the thought helps me, and thought also puts me down. If I have a thought coming from the nature which is programmed at the subconscious level, at the unconscious level, at the impulsive level, at the habitual level, then I blame you, then I complain, then I react, then I fight like the animal mind. So our master says, hold on, sit down, think. Think means have a thought. Why have a thought? To rise in awareness, to rise in knowledge. Entire Eastern wisdom is just about that it shifts your entire thinking process to a level of understanding where every thought loses its relevance. What it means? Horror film comes to an end, then what do you see? Only the screen, only the pure consciousness. That is what the meditation is. Do you see that? Huh? Did I explain you through The waves have stopped. The water, the ocean is totally calm. Water does not change its quality. So, my friends, consciousness does not change. How do you summarize? Thought always occurs in the mind in the presence of the consciousness, and mind is a reflected consciousness. If as long as there is a consciousness reflected in the mind, you may have a thought or you may not have a thought. But without consciousness, if you are thinking, any matter or any object has a consciousness, which is totally false and wrong. How can I say you that you are crazy? First, I have to be conscious of you. Then I have a prior knowledge about you. You see, object, knowledge of an object. Then my intellect and the I thought says I dislike you. You see, again, I'm conscious. Reflected consciousness is working. The mind, as moonlight, is working constantly. Light has to be there. That light means the consciousness. So it is being reflected in the mind. Then only you have a thought. Otherwise, you cannot have a thought at all. Do you have a thought? Are you thinking? You have to be aware. If you are not aware, how do you know that you have a thought? How do you know? No, it happens by protein molecule. Forget about it. Don't be crazy. It doesn't happen by the protein molecule. So what happens? We get carried away. Oh, we will check your alpha wave in the brain. I have a problem with the thought. I don't have any problem with alpha wave. And, you have to think something logically. So when you think logically with a cause and effect relationship, then you get a knowledge. If you have a vague thinking, it does not lead you to any knowledge. So that is why you see that I'm just putting everything in a logical fashion with a cause and effect. So if you follow a vague manner, oh, wave is like something very solid. It does not hold. We all have an experience. Wave cannot be solid. Similarly, if consciousness is not there, you cannot have a thought. But that consciousness is not affected. The reflected consciousness is affected. What is reflected consciousness? It is the mind. Then further there is another reflection, that you are good and bad as an object, as a person, based on my past memory. Every time you have multiple reflections, and then you accumulate and you have a particular thought, which you say it is mind thought. No thought is mine. So to understand little deeper, we say the real self is self-luminous. What is the meaning of self-luminous? It does not need a transformer or generator or a particular place where from the electricity is supplied. But the mind, consciousness is supplied by the mind. That is why I experience I'm exhausted, I'm tired, but still that consciousness does not change. So that is why we say it is a self-luminous. Mind borrows the consciousness from the real self, looks at an object, processes the sensation from the language that I have learned, converts into an expression which is a thought. Thought is a product of knowledge. I know you. Is it not a knowledge? I don't know you. That is also a knowledge. Are you understanding? I don't know you. So I have a knowledge that I don't know you. So let me know you. Little deviation. Master says, when your mind says, my honey is crazy, let your intellect say, I don't know who you are. So your idea, your thought of your honey is crazy will drop. Are you understanding? So one thought, which is also a product of knowledge, which says my honey is crazy, another thought, you see how the knowledge takes place? Another thought, because you are learning Eastern wisdom, another thought says, oh, I don't know if my honey is crazy, so I have raised a doubt. Then I live into that awareness. Craziness is a label. Honey is a human being. Honey cannot be crazy. So what happens by understanding? Knowledge is taking place. Understanding is taking place step by step. Whether you reach my honey is not crazy. I was wrong. My mind is crazy. What happens? You reach to the state of the calmness by simply understanding. That is the highest journey of Eastern wisdom. The teacher communicates to you, talks to you, you are with the teacher and you continue to live into that awareness. You pass from one thought to the other thought. Now you recognize that craziness has nothing to do with a human being who is in front of you. It is all about human being. First understanding. Second, it is about the mind. So I also become crazy. So I don't have a liberty to say that my honey is crazy. So now I have a knowledge, these two knowledge drops my anger and hesitation against the honey. I live in that understanding. Do you see that? That needs to be practiced and contemplated again and again and again. Then instantly you can reach to that pointer. Then the mind is not guided and dictated by any impurity, any programmed by the nature. You live into that awareness. So that awareness is knowledge, that awareness is understanding. So that what happens now, the thought of a craziness associated with the past impression, idea of negative emotion and the feeling all drops. When all drops, you have an emptiness of the mind. So what is in that state of emptiness of the mind, you recognize it is not the mind, it is not the impressions, it is not the thought, it is the sunlight, which is independent of the mind. That real self is independent, free from the mind, all the past impressions, the thoughts, processes, everything. You are independent. Horror film is totally separate from the screen of TV. Do you agree? Same way. Same way. Screen remains the same, TV screen. I give a lot of sessions on the same monitor. Monitor remains the same. It doesn't change. Whether I'm giving a lesson to a single person or to a group, monitor says, I'm okay with you. So when the mind becomes like a monitor, you have a right perception. Why? You have a right thought. Why? You have a right thought, which is a product of knowledge. So that reality is expressed through a thought. What is that thought? I am the real self, of the nature of peace, happiness, love, wisdom. Don't you get tired? Yes, you get tired. That is the property of the body. We are talking of the property of the mind. You have to understand. That is why we say it's something mystery. There is no mystery. Awakened Buddha has to leave the body. Otherwise, he should have been alive as far as the body is concerned. So how through a thought I can understand this mystery? Buddha realized that I am not the body. When you are not the body, will you take birth and will you die? Did you understand? In the awakened state, I recognize that I'm a screen. I'm not a horror film. I'm not a plot. I'm not an actor. I'm not an actress. Does anything happens to the screen? There is a bomb blast. Does the screen blast? Same way. So this body, this matter has to follow the material laws. I cannot stop it. It doesn't mean that you are not awakened. So Buddha was awakened fully, realized. Many masters, Jesus for that matter, other masters are awakened. No one kept the body for thousands of years. That is a mysticism created by those teachers who do not understand the Eastern wisdom. I am saying a simple, very simplified version. It's my car, but I am not the car. Clear? So it is my body. I am not the body. I have a constant conscious experience that I am not the body. Clear? So when I am not the body, then I don't take birth. I don't die. I don't age. You may see, unorganized beard. So it is for you, not for me. I don't care. I don't need to stand at least 2 hours before the mirror, and the mind is constantly creating and thought and memories that once I go to the party, people will appreciate me, not you, but your body. But you are not the body. That is why you are frustrated. Did you understand what I'm saying? Again, I'm saying screen is there, horror film, bomb blast is there, nothing happens to the screen. Now apply the same metaphor here. When you experience that you are not the body, you have a realization. Were you born? No. Will you die? No. You are unconsciousness. Do you remember all the time? Yes. Don't you remember you are a man or woman? Same way you remember, I'm the real self. That is an awakened state. Nothing else there. Nothing more than that. No, I have a pain. No, body has a pain. Who uses this knowledge, the thought, Eastern wisdom, uses the same thought to arrive at a knowledge and awakening. A lot of things to digest, assimilate. Anyhow, I will be sending this. Try to digest and assimilate. No, thought is like a wave. Wave is water. Water is not wave, but I am the water. So no thought expressed in the highest level. I saw a couple of good messages, crazy messages on the Facebook. So I deleted my Facebook profile completely. So even if you find me on the Facebook, so better don't go there. You may see my picture. I completely removed and deleted. So those impressions, those thoughts which are associated with any object linking to you, you delete it. One example of the Facebook. My honey is not so loving now. He was loving. He was a soulmate 10 years ago. You have changed. So he has also changed or she has also changed. Calm down. Take care of your journey of self discovery. So, anyhow, that is all for today. Thank you very much. We will meet again 7:30, Charlie, next week.